Is that unnecessary and limiting when portraying itself as necessary and all-encompassing? I think by inherently by definition, rejecting non-religious people, I think that's not really all-encompassing and makes the discussion a lot less fruitful and a lot less helpful. So here's the different perspective. Can we tweak this a little bit? Why does interfaith have to be accepting of all beliefs? Why can't we have an open and critical, honest discussion of somebody's beliefs? Why do we have to say, oh, you have this religion, I have this religion, I'm okay with everything you believe? Because, as we've seen, nobody's really okay with everything anybody else believes. We're okay with somebody having that belief, but when they start acting on that, that's not always good. And we need to have a discussion about that instead of just saying, it's okay for you to do things based on your religion that are not good. We need to have open discussion, open and honest critique, open and honest dialogue. Second, why can we not question... I already talked about that. Third, why can we not focus on respect of the individual instead of respect of faith? As humanism states, it's that people are important. I think in some sort of interfaith dialogue, we need to recognize that people are the important thing. It's not the ideology. What unites us all is that we're all human. And that if we respect people for themselves as people, that's how you'll get an open and honest critique going, and that's how you get an open, honest discussion going. When you start saying things directly at people about their beliefs or at them in a negative way, it's in philosophy it's known as ad hominem attacks, that doesn't accomplish anything, and it's going to lessen the likelihood of any sort of conversation building. So, in my opinion, I think let's have real interfaith. Let's respect humans and have open, honest talk about faith. So in conclusion, and it's going to go away right at the perfect time, here's some topics of discussions we can discuss right now. We can discuss what I do on my spare time. We can discuss more about the Bishop Rice incident if you want to know anything more about that I can provide. We can talk about the importance of improving the understanding of atheists, and then the one that I just ended with, the interfaith dialogue question. And then obviously any other questions you may have. I added this little poster at the end. I think some of you might have questions about this or understand what I'm getting at, so let's discuss it. Thank you for your time, and I hope we have a good discussion.
Okay, so questions, comments for our guests?
Can I just go with the interfaith? I really have a problem with interfaith. I think interfaith is part of the problem.
Okay.
Because interfaith is used as if it is all-encompassing and excludes those of us who do not have faith.
Yes.
And so I think to try, it's sort of like sometimes when there's a broken system, there's two ways you can do it. You can say, well, this is a broken system. Let's try and see if we can tweak it.
Yes.
But you bring with it all of the history and baggage of that broken system.
Yes.
I think there is a dialogue that needs to be done between people of faith and people of no faith. But that is not an interfaith dialogue. That is a dialogue among people. And so I just question and would ask you to think about just having that word out there. Because a lot of people of faith use interfaith as their way of saying, we accept everyone.
Yes.
When interfaith definitionally, as you show, excludes people of no faith. And so, finding something else. And I guess it's like, if there was a big organization of one kind of people with one kind of belief, and then someone else wanted to get in there, it still has all the history of that. So the interfaith prayer breakfast, I don't want to go there.
Exactly.
I don't want to pray. So there's no way, really, without completely breaking all of the establishment of an interfaith organization, breaking all of their history, breaking all of their traditions, to truly have people of no faith included.
I think that's a very good point, and personally I wouldn't be opposed to that. The reason I sort of brought up the interfaith discussion is I think that's a good basis for people to start at when we talk about having open and honest dialogue about religion and about faith and non-faith and belief and non-belief. I unfortunately have to agree with you, and I think there's a lot of baggage that comes with the interfaith movement. I think that don't know if it's repairable personally. I don't know enough about the subject. If it is, I think we should try to fix it because I think, as I posted with a very colorful slide, it's really nice. It sounds wonderful. And if we could repair all the problems with it, with keeping that sort of positive image, that'd be great. Whether we call it interfaith or not, and bring on that baggage, I couldn't say yes or no to that. But if it's too detrimental, I don't have any problem getting rid of it. I think the important part is what it's supposed to accomplish, which is having that sort of interfaith dialogue, including people of non-faith, which in the title, it kind of, like you said, kind of discriminates against that. Other questions?
Caitlin, how you change?
I was going to respond. I absolutely agree that interfaith is problematic for so many ways. And I think we need to acknowledge that it's not going away. And so if you can't say, oh, we don't like you, so we're not going to play your game. I think you almost have to play the game if you want to create change in that. I don't know. That's a tough one, though. But I don't think the interfaith movement's going away, so we've got to jump on board or get left behind.
So if we get change?
I think it's good for us to admit that we do have a lot in common with other religions, and that almost all religions do promote loving other people, caring for people, doing charitable work. So I think we should keep that in mind. And I think that Jesus had a pretty good philosophy when it came to human behavior, how to regard your fellow man, your enemies, as well as your friends.
If I could just respond. I agree with you to a point, I think, on that topic. I don't know if I can go all the way with you on Jesus' philosophy was good without causing too many heads to turn or want to hurt me. I think Jesus was a little schizophrenic. But the idea that all religions have this sort of humanistic idea and this loving, caring thing, I think is true to a point. I think that what we see by example through actions of certain people, that's not always the case. And I think from my own personal studies of the Bible and the Quran and things like that, it's not hard to get the things out of it that the Islamic extremists have gotten out of it, that people like the Westboro Baptist Church have gotten out of it. So that's why I think it's important to have this open and honest discussion about faith and not do this sort of current interfaith perspective where you just say, you believe this, you believe that, that's okay, that's fine. That's not going to get us anywhere, and we're not going to make any progress with that. I think it's important to critique the problems with religion. Not that they're going to change, but that they're important to be dealt with in some way or another.
Norm, I know you had your hand. Just somebody else have your hand up before Norm. Okay, Norm, then Alan, then Bob.
Okay. Ben, I tremendously admire you for standing up for your non-beliefs.
Thank you.
I think that takes a lot of courage being in your position where you are at school and at your age. About the interfaith dialogue and stuff, I wish Kate Lovelady were here to defend her role. Kate is our leader who's now on sabbatical. She's a diehard atheist, but she participates in a dialogue, and call it interfaith, call it whatever, but with members of the faith community throughout the St. Louis area. And not that they're trying to necessarily understand each other's religious beliefs, as I perceive of what this organization is, but looking for those common areas in which they can do good things on behalf of the community. Because whether we atheists like it or not, so much good is done by the faith community. And furthermore, I would be comfortable with expanding the definition of faith to include what I think humanists believe, at least I do, is faith in the ability of human beings to be reasonable, rational beings in order to solve the issues, the problems, and the wonderful aspects that humanity has to offer. Doesn't mean you have faith in a supreme being. It means you have faith that we can come together and do great things.
And I think that's great. And I'm fully in support of humanism and have been for a long time now. What you said about Miss Lovelady and what she does with the organization and having these interfaith discussions, I think that's good. And I think that talking about where we do have common areas is extremely important. And I think we can do that while also having this sort of open critique of like you said, what is wrong with each, or what we perceive as wrong, and have some sort of discussion about that. The one thing that I think is very unique and good, and I'm glad to hear this, is that Miss Lovelady has been able to be involved in discussions when a lot of the time diehard atheists are not allowed into these discussions. They ask to go to conventions and they're not allowed to go to conventions.
I don't think she's going to show up at a prayer breakfast. But I think she's going to show up at these meetings of how we can address issues facing the metropolitan community, where we can find common ground, irrespective of our theistic.
Yes, and that's great, and I'm all for that. I just know that sometimes atheists are not allowed into these discussions. Personally, I recently applied to speak at one of the bigger BU events. They had 4 religious speakers at that event. It's called TED, for those of you who know what TED is. It was the TED BU event. They had 4 speakers who talked directly about their beliefs in God, and about their religions, and invited no atheists to speak. And I know there were numerous applications. Not that it's particularly an interfaith dialogue sort of environment, but it's not okay to represent one side and not the other on any issue.
I don't think that TED necessarily is.
No, I don't think it is either, but I think that.
Particular event.
And not all atheists are
Alan is next, and Bob, and
Yeah.
the guy back there, Phil.
Some faith groups are not theistic. I believe Confucianism does not have a God. And
Right.
such Confucianists are often invited to.
Our Buddhism.
Okay. But the point I want to make is that I think non-theists should make the question is what is good, the
Yes.
top question, and get people enrolled in that, because then you'll find people of faith, they have ethics too, and will come in.
Yes.
So if you say Bill Gates is good, why?
Yeah.
Because he's giving money to eliminate malaria.
Right.
Well, is that good?
Yes.
Is that better than private property? Is it better than, something else? And that's the debate we should be having, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Okay.
Okay, Bob, you're up.
Yeah. Are you possibly the fellow that debated me many months ago when I reviewed the book Evidence of the Afterlife? That was not you?
I would have loved to be that person. But yes, I would have. That's not me, though.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the room was quite full. And so I gave my review of the book, and then the young man gave his. And when he was done, I said, well, let's take a poll. How many of you believe what, I forget what his name was.
Was it
maybe
Mr.
Chris
Conover?
or something. How many of you believe Chris's story more than mine? And about every hand in the room went up. And then I said, well, how many of you believe what I talked about? My girlfriend and an older couple. 3 of them put their hand up. So it shows you the makeup of our people here pretty well. But what he did, he's a anesthesiologist down in Louisiana. And many times he has witnessed people in the operating room, going flat, where they are clinically dead. Well, he talked to over 1,000, or he got reports from over 1,000 people all over the world of many, many different faiths. Children as young as the age of 5 was reporting the same thing, and what he outlines is about 10 experiences that the people that are revived have experienced some of that, some a lot more of it. And I've always considered myself an agnostic, but I thought him very, very revealing, and it's you probably heard some of the things, like they had witnessed out-of-body experience looking down on his body in the room, and but experiencing beautiful scenes,